Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Getting Personal with Parkinson's, a Facebook Live conversation series. I'm Whitney Chapman, and I am the program and production coordinator for the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan's Edmund J. Safra Parkinson's Wellness Program, supported by New York's largest healthcare provider, Northwell Health. For over 14 years, the JCC has been hosting programs for individuals living with Parkinson's, and you can find out about these programs on our website by visiting www.mmjccm.org/Parkinson's. You can see the link below in our comment section. This program is for anyone whose life has been impacted with Parkinson's, those diagnosed, as well as families and friends. We want this conversation to help put a face to Parkinson's and to introduce to you people living and thriving with PD. We will speak with experts along the way to share advice. Maybe we'll even get a celebrity or two. Now, I'm actually honored and excited to introduce to you an interview that I pre-recorded with Charlotte and Catherine Jones, twin sisters whose father, the actor John Christopher Jones, was diagnosed when they were about 4 years old. I think you will be very moved by the journey they share as children of someone living with PD. You may have seen Chris on our earlier Getting Personal with Parkinson's episode, or on our Broadway's Best for Parkinson's program. As you watch this interview, please just listen. And if you have comments or questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I will happily respond to them after the conversation.
How old were you guys when your dad got diagnosed, and how did you find out? Like, what was it like discovering that your dad had Parkinson's?
We were really young. I remember having a conversation with our mom, and she had said, Dad has Parkinson's, and it just means that he's going to get older faster.
I remember growing up, she would say that, and that's kind of how we learned to understand it. But I don't remember an initial conversation. You know, I know he was diagnosed when we were 4, but I kind of like feel like I never knew him without Parkinson's, like, because we were so young. I feel like he has kind of had it our whole lives, although that being said, like it's progressive and it changes in ways that you can't predict or even understand totally. So like he still is like very functional, and he was when we were growing up. Yeah,
I remember one thing. I must have been like 8 when I really noticed it. We were racing to the corner, like from JCC, from 75th and Broadway to like 75th and West End, and I beat him. And it wasn't like he let me win. It was like he was slow. And I was like, what? You're a grown up. And I remember just being like, that's really weird. And he was like, because he had like a little stutter, shutter step. And I remember just being like, what? Like, that's weird. And that was one of the first times I kind of realized, like, oh, you're gonna slow down. And I like what Catherine said, like I don't really remember him without Parkinson's because we were so young. And I think my brother and I were watching like a home video a few years ago, and it was like us at the beach, and we're like, who's talking? Like, who's narrating the video? And then it turned up, like it panned up to my dad talking, and we were both like very startled. Do you remember watching that, Catherine? And it was like, whoa, like that's not the dad I know, because he was so tall and talking so fast and had a different toned voice, and it was pretty jarring. I remember being like,
I mean, he was just as loving then as he is now, and he was just, said as many like kind and eloquent things, except he said them a little faster.
For the most part, when we were younger, it didn't impact much through middle school. We babysit for the kids who live on our floor, and they saw our dad walking once, and they're really young. They must be like 4 and 6 or something at the time. And he looks different. He's said it before in an interview he's done. He said, when I look in the mirror, I think, who's this monster? Which is not true. He's not a monster. He has like very apparent scoliosis. But he's amazing. And I remember like 2 girls said, what happened to your dad? What's wrong with your dad? And I was like, just shocked, because kids don't care. Like, they don't know not to. And the younger girl said, did he get in a car crash? And I was like stunned. I couldn't even answer, but I thought it was funny that like when you're a kid, you don't know all the worst thing that could happen to someone is a car crash. Like, and I like couldn't answer. I was so stunned. And Catherine just like very quickly was like, that's just the way the back bends, because they were like, what's wrong with his back? Like, was it a car crash? And she was like, that's just the way the back bends sometimes. And then their mom was like, girls, you can't ask that. But I was like, you're right. Like, Catherine's right. Like, that's just the way that it is. And there is no point in trying to do anything than like normalize that and saying like, that's who he is. And it's different, and different's not bad.
I want to say that there is power in us seeing how this impacts you. My father doesn't have Parkinson's. My father's got a lot of mobility issues, and I'm watching him go through his thing, and it's hard as a kid. And I've known your dad for probably 17 years. Your dad has been in my yoga class. He's been in our NIA program. He's taken our water class. I mean, he is one of the rocks in the JCC's Parkinson's care program. And for some of you, you may have seen Chris Jones's interview, which he did with us earlier this year. And he's a dynamic human being, a Broadway film and television actor, and a really good-hearted man. And I don't know about you girls, but I'm a daddy's girl. You know, my dad is the most amazing man ever. And from what I know of your dad, I would probably say your dad is almost as good as my dad.
I think it was tough because as we got older, like playing, and my brother might be able to speak to this more, but like playing in Riverside Park, those like running wars of like when we would race, like it didn't become an option for an activity. It was just sad. And then at times it became dangerous, like more towards like the end of middle school or high school, he started falling. And at first it would just be, once a year he'd have a bad fall that was really upsetting. And just like one time in Riverside Park, we were just like playing football, like family football, for Thanksgiving. And it was, maybe I was 12, and that was like pretty upsetting because he fell and I was really sad and I was confused, and he was literally on the floor, and he was still prioritizing me. He was like, it's okay, I'm okay. Like, he was still caring. He's like such a caring, like loving man. And he wasn't severely injured, but he didn't prioritize like getting up. He still was prioritizing our feelings and saying like, it's going to be okay. I'm okay. Like, you're okay. I love you. And he's just like a very selfless person to be giving us love when clearly in that moment he needed love and care. So that was powerful. He has like really bad scoliosis that's quite apparent. So like those things were obvious, but for the most part, it kind of flew under the radar until these past maybe 5 years. Our older brother warned us about this, like going away to college and coming back, you see when you're living with Parkinson's day to day, the little degenerative neurological and physical differences seem very subtle. You're not noticing it. But when you leave for 6 months and come back, you see, like when we left our first time at college, we came back and my dad was using a cane. Having him use a cane for the first time, which he first was his walking stick, was kind of startling. Like seeing him use a walker was like, whoa, this is weird. And now that he has moved into assisted living, like we all agree that it's the right decision and it's what's going to be best and safest, which is what we want. But it's sad. I mean, earlier this year for Father's Day, he had to like leave at 10 p.m. He had to go home. And I was like, this sucks.
For other kids that are going to find out that they've got a parent with Parkinson's, what would you want them to know? What would you tell them about how to love their parent, things that you've learned? What would be important that you wish maybe someone had said to you or that you would like to share to someone else?
I think we've struggled with like feelings of this isn't fair, this isn't right, you didn't do anything to warrant this. It's sad watching like someone that you love lose their ability to move, their ability to talk. It's sad. And it's a total test of patience and love. What would you say, Catherine?
It's important to have conversations about how you're feeling and check in about the progression of the disease, even though like that might be the last thing you want to do. I mean, especially a parent, I think someone who raised you, it's a kind of like impossible to understand that this is happening, and there's really like an urge and a pressure to not understand, and like because it is very painful. But I think just like don't be afraid of being emotional. There's no wrong thing that you could say. When I was younger, we had this like Parkinson's book lying around, and I remember reading it, and kind of dramatic to read, honestly, was that the like the average life expectancy post-diagnosis was 15 years. So I had in my mind like this timeline, but that's not the case. It's been 18 years. Like he's still doing good.
Tell me about what you love about your dad. What has your dad shown you as he has managed Parkinson's as a father and as a human being? What would you like the world to know about your dad?
When some people get sick, they get really angry and sometimes turn into mean, hateful people. And I'm felt really lucky because that's not my dad.
Yeah, it's hard to describe how present he is for us and how much love he has to give and how compassionate and understanding he has always been. And yeah, we love him.
Yeah, this whole thing has really taught us like patience, and going through Parkinson's in our family, we've like learned to be compassionate, be emotional. My brother describes it as like Parkinson's what does he say? He says Parkinson's is the world's slowest car crash.
Wow.
Yeah. Did I get that quote right, Catherine? He says,
I think he says something like that. I mean, I'm not sure I entirely agree. Like, I think you can live with it for a very long time, and you can live gracefully and, fully and beautifully with it. And I think Dad is an example of that.
yeah. One thing that he did say a few weeks ago when he called, he said, like, I was a good dad when I was younger. And that kind of like broke my heart, because I was like, you're still a good dad. You're a great dad. You prioritize us at all costs. You love us, and your ability to love is unstoppable in the face of this like adversity and this chronic and really degenerative disease.
It sounds like your family has handled your dad's Parkinson's, what I'm going to say, sort of head on. And it sounds like your mom, and I'd love to hear if you want to share anything about your mom here, but how your mom addressed it with you when you were 4 years old, and how that has changed as you grew up and started to have the capacity to understand more. Would you say that it has in some way strengthened your family in terms of how you've chosen to embrace what Parkinson's is, how Parkinson's is impacting your dad and all of you?
In some ways, I think Parkinson's has strengthened us. In other ways, I think we would be a strong family without it. We're very much a unit and a team, and that comes a lot from my mom's commitment to our family and to and my dad's commitment. We all want to support and love each other, and I think Parkinson's has really put that to the test. And made our communication a lot clearer, and made us talk about sad, scary, important future situations. But I think, without the Parkinson's, we would still be strong and connected, and it really comes from both my parents setting good examples of communication and love, and they both are like two of the most like loving and kind people. Very much like love is the answer no matter the question.
I think she makes it a lot less scary. She's never been afraid to talk about it. The fact that we have each other, and I mean, my parents always say that, like family's the most important thing. The fact that we have each other, and the fact that we have always been encouraged to express ourselves, and I think we know that we're going into this with the team, and there's a lot of support and a lot of love, and I mean that's thanks to MB and Chris.
Yeah, my dad always refers to our mom as the glue. She's the glue that keeps this family together, and she's amazing. And she's very open and honest. I remember saying, like, what's gonna happen? Like, growing up, there were sad times being like, what's gonna happen? And she was like, I don't know. And no one knows. No doctor can say this will happen on this date. Parkinson's is so different. I mean, even in one of my dad's best friends, Dan Moran, also has Parkinson's, and just their symptoms are so different. Like we mentioned, my dad has really severe scoliosis and a very bent back. And Dan Moran stands up straight and tall and could bow and touch his toes. And my dad has very limited upper back mobility. But my dad's words and communication is very clear, and he can get out full sentences, whereas his friend, it's more difficult to understand. I can get pieces of words in conversation, but it's a lot less clear. So I think Parkinson's really is this umbrella term, and there are so many different things. Like when I say, oh, my dad has Parkinson's, people think, oh, does he have a lot of tremors and does he shake? And I'm like, well, actually, no, that's Michael J. Fox. That's not my dad. But it's weird because it's so different. And the way that the disease manifests in each diagnosis is different. Even my grandma, who also has it, and our two uncles. My dad is one of 5, and he has 2 brothers, and they both were diagnosed with Parkinson's. And my mom's mom also is diagnosed with Parkinson's. So it sucks. But all 4 of those close family diagnoses are completely different.
I have to say, ladies, this has been extraordinary to hear your experience and to see the love you have, not only for your dad, but for your mom, and how your family is choosing to move through this journey together. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for your bravery and coming to chat with me today, for opening up about your journey and your story. I think there are a lot of children out there who watch their parents age, right, regardless, and then to watch your parents age with something like Parkinson's. And I just want you to know that I learned a lot today from listening to the 2 of you. And before we go, I just want to open it up. Is there anything else you want to share or say? And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for taking time to talk to us as well. I think the only last thing I would say is that I'm really grateful for my brother and my sister, because it's hard, and making sure that there's this support and finding people who get it and having these 2 built-in people who really get it has been critical to navigating this, as well as my parents, for leading by example and leading with love, and being patient with, just grateful for our entire family. We're all patient with each other, and patient with ourselves.
I feel very lucky to have him as a parent. Parkinson's or not, he's the best parent out there. So there's a lot of there's love. There's a lot of. That's kind of the biggest win, you know.
Thank you both so much. Your words and your heart and your tears. I get it. And I am so honored that you guys both had the bravery to talk with me today.
Wow. I think that was such a gift to get to learn from these ladies today. And listening to them speak and knowing their parents, to me, it's just incredible to see how the Jones family has chosen to deal with Parkinson's. And I want to thank them for being open to talking with us and for being such an inspiration. I want to thank you for sharing your lunchtime with me and for being here. We are moving this conversation to a monthly conversation, and we will have our next Getting Personal with Parkinson's on Monday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. You can find previous recordings of these conversations on the JCC Manhattan's YouTube channel, Parkinson's Playlist, and we'll include that link in the chat below. And you can also find the conversation we had with their father, Chris Jones. On Monday, January 24th at 6 p.m., we'll be hosting our next episode of Broadway's Best for Parkinson's, and we'll put that link in the chat as well. It's a free event. It will be Monday night at 6 p.m. on January 24th. Lastly, I want to let you know that our new winter season of virtual programs for individuals living with Parkinson's begins next week. So please check out our Parkinson's program at www.mmjccm.org/Parkinson's to register. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly. And my email is wchapman, that's WCHAPMAN @mmjccm.org. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for checking in. And please know, if you or someone you care about is living with Parkinson's, you're not alone. We've got lots of resources to help, and we would love to be a part of your journey. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much.